Today's story, we're going to be reading about the Moon Maidens. Thousands of years ago, when Egyptians gazed up at the nighttime sky, they thought they saw the face of a man in the moon staring back at them. They said that he'd been banished to the heavens as a punishment for misbehaving on Earth. For a princess starring in the sky was a reward. Stargazing people in early Estonia said that the Milky Way was the wedding veil of a sky princess named Lindu. The ancient Greeks also saw royal maidens in the outlines of the stars. One, the constellation called Andromeda, was named for the beautiful Ethiopian princess who was saved from a sea serpent. Pacific people in Samoa and Tonga have maidens in the sky myths. The Ojibwe people tell of a chief's daughter who left her family to become a bright star in the nighttime sky. In Japan, the Shining Princess tells the opposite story. A star princess leaves her heavenly home to come down to Earth. In a Romanian folktale and a Zuni legend, the caretakers of the sun and moon are brother and sister. In this story, from old ancient China, two royal sisters and their brother share similar roles. In China, in ancient times, people believed that the world was divided into three kingdoms. The emperor of the earth ruled the land, the emperor of the seas commanded the waters, and the emperor of the heavens watched over the sky. Each ruler tended to his own territory, not bothering the others, so they seldom quarreled. Of the three, the Emperor of the Heavens was the most powerful. At his command, rain fell, wind whistled, and lightning cracked the clouds. His warriors, dressed in bright armor, were the shining stars, and meteors streaking through the sky were his fiery dragons. The sun itself was home to his son, the Sky Prince. But all that he owned and everything in his domain, the emperor was proudest of his two daughters, the princesses of the palace of the moon. Although both these maidens were beautiful, they did not look alike. The princess named White Jade was slender and as pale and delicate as the new moon. The princess known as Golden Bird was plump and as rosy bright as the harvest moon. But what truly delighted their father was the princess's cleverness with their needlework. The two sisters stitched the lacy Milky Way, hung out bands of glimmering moonbeams, and decorated the nighttime sky with their dazzling embroideries. "My heavenly princesses are without equal in any kingdom," boasted their father, the emperor. Such praise made White Jade blush, and Gold Bird cast down her eyes, and they quickly returned to their needlework again. Those on earth also heard the emperor's bragging. Women, from girls to grandmothers, went out to gaze at the heavens and judge the moon maidens' work for themselves. In the hands of the princesses, even ordinary needles twinkle like stars, they all agreed. None of them, young or old, went back to bed. They stayed awake all night, watching White Jade and Golden Bird work on their gleaming embroideries. Babies left alone began to cry, and their mothers hurried to fetch them. When the babies saw the moon, they howled even louder, for each wanted to hold the shiny ball. Then boys and men ran outside to find the cause of such commotion. Speechless, they stared at the sky. They ignored the tapestry of tiny jewel-like stitches that stretched high above their heads. Instead, they gawked, awestruck, at the lovely princesses themselves. "In all the universe, these moon maidens are the most exquisite," cried a poet. At once he took up a brush and ink to write a poem telling everyone in China about the beautiful sewing sisters. Teachers and students scrambled up the slippery tiled roofs of their schools to gaze at White Jade and Golden Bird. Farmers left their fields, and warriors deserted their posts to scale the mountains for a better look. Nightly, people pushed and elbowed each other to be the first to see the moon rise. The poet, tired from staying up all night, could not write another word. Drowsy students dozed at their desks in the daytime. Farmers were too weary to plant the rice, and warriors fell sound asleep with their swords in their hands. Mistakes were made in everything, and nothing at all was done on time. Even so, the princesses sat and sewed in the moonlight. The emperor of the earth was furious. Shaking the ground with every footstep, he burst in on the emperor of the heavens. "Your princesses of the palace of the moon have turned day and night upside down," the earth ruler rumbled. "Do something!" The heavenly emperor did not want to break the peace between land and sky. "1,000 apologies, honorable cousin," he said. "Something shall be done." Clapping his hands, He called for his daughters. When he told them of the earthly emperor's complaint, both maidens nodded. The princesses were modest and did not want to draw undue attention. Such worldly attention was alarming to them. "Perhaps we could pull our embroideries over our heads," White Jade suggested, "or conceal ourselves at the backside of the moon," said Golden Bird. The emperor frowned and tugged at his beard. "A princess does not hide," he declared. "Something must hide you instead." The emperor ordered the winds of the four directions to blow curtains of clouds over the face of the moon. The sky was blacker than a cormorant's wing, and those on the land below stumbled about in the darkness. Not even the thinnest ray of light could pierce the thick and woolly veil. Still, the emperor of the earth was pleased because, without the moon maidens to watch, the people slept by night and worked by day. The emperor of the heavens was pleased to have avoided a quarrel. The Princess White Jade and Princess Golden Bird were happy to continue to stitch undisturbed. But the emperor of the seas was most unhappy. Without the stars to guide them, ships were lost. Fish floundered about in a panic, and the night fishermen tangled their nets. No turtles crawled ashore to lay their eggs. Worst of all, the moon could no longer work its magic on the tides. Sometimes the waves rushed in, swamping the sands, and other times the sea shrank so that only a puddle remained. Even so, the princesses sat and continued their sewing. At last, the Emperor of the Seas whirled into the sky on a typhoon and roared, "Give us back the moon!" The mighty Emperor of the Heavens paled before such anger. "If that is your desire, noble cousin," he replied, but in his heart he despaired. "What now?" he asked his daughters. "By trying to please everyone, and I please no one, least of all myself." Princess White Jade bowed to her father. "We have been talking," she said, "Golden Bird and I." "With your permission," said her sister, "we wish to trade places with our royal brother in the sun." "What nonsense is this?" cried the Emperor. "The Sky Prince may live in the Palace of the Moon," explained White Jade, "and we can move to the Pagoda of the Sun." Their father shook his head. "The world gawks at you by moonlight. Surely more would gape at you in the sunlight." "We have thought of an answer to that," the prince and sisters replied. "Please, ask our brother to help us." The Emperor of the Heavens shrugged. He was certain that the Sky Prince would not consent to such a scheme, but he agreed. "I shall speak to him," he said. At twilight, that time when the sun has set and the moon has not yet risen, the Emperor visited the Pagoda of the Sun. He found his son dozing on the throne, his head in his hands. "Oh, forgive me, worthy father," said the Sky Prince, jumping up, "but I am sleepy. After waking the sun at dawn, I am too busy to blink until I put it to bed at dusk." "Would some other life better suit you?" asked the Emperor. "I would willingly trade all this glory," said the Sky Prince, waving his hand at the shining golden pagoda, "for the chance to rest now and then." For a few moments the Emperor was silent. Then, in a voice that shook the sky like thunder, he claimed, "So be it!" That night, the princesses carefully rolled up their silks and packed a chest with their threads and their dozens and dozens of sharp embroidery needles. Then a dragon chariot carried White Jade and Golden Bird across the ceiling of heaven to the Pagoda of the Sun. Another chariot brought the Sky Prince to the Palace of the Moon. On Earth, people saw two meteors hurtling through the sky. "See that?" they exclaimed. "The dragons are flying tonight." Not until the meteors disappeared did they realize the moon maidens had vanished too. The poet was quite distressed, but many of the girls and young women were pleased to discover a man in the moon instead. The next morning, the Sun Sisters, for now that is what they were, set to their tasks. The princesses embroidered the sunrise clouds with orange and gold, and the sunset clouds with rose and violet. They stitched a many-colored rainbow banner to stretch across the sky after a shower. No one stared at them as they worked. For those who dared to look up at the sun felt 1,000 tiny prickles sting their eyes. Some said that the sunbeams caused their eyes to smart, but others, far wiser, quickly looked away. They knew that what they felt were the jabs from White Jade's and Golden Bird's dozens of needles. Even today, anyone foolish enough to look directly at the sun will surely feel the pain of the princess's displeasure.